to another. And our thoughts, our memories, our souls, if you believe in that sort of thing, they're made of energy. And that energy, maybe here, that energy, I don't know, maybe it lingers.
The one went in the fucking street and got his throat slit. So don't you come in here judging. You get to judge me. I'm doing the best I can.
You know there's no coming back from this, right? You said that you weren't going to let this place break you. If you do this.
And I like what you said, because when you name a person like Kenny, when you name Boyd, when you name Donna, these are the pillars in the town.
Mm-hmm.
These are the people that people look to as the moral compass in the town. When somebody does something wrong, it's Boyd's job to put them in the box. When Donna, she keeps the house managed. Kenny is his deputy. Like you said, all of the people that are supposed to have a moral compass have been freaking compromised. And the one person who looks like they have a moral compass is potentially one of the most dangerous people, which, kind of perplexed. And I couldn't help but to think about how these folks keep calling Sarah and asking her to do stuff and putting her in goddamn precarious situations. Victor did it to her a couple of episodes. Victor did it to her about 3 or 4 times. Initially, he did it to her when he said, "I need you to come in the tent." And she's like, "Well, why do you have me down here?" Because he's like, "I got to tell a scary ass story, and I know it won't scare you because you the scariest motherfucker.
You the scariest bitch in town."
Then,
and we forget that she is until later on in the episode. You forget, like, yeah, Sarah's about that life. She's very calm and collected, but she got to shank a bit. She gonna shank a bit.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the New Watchers on the Wall from episode 10. What an amazing show. So many twists and turns. But before we get into it, we want to thank everybody who's been rocking with us. And we have a big ask. If you've been following us or watching our videos, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Our analytics show that only about 20% of all of our viewers are actually subscribers. So come on, y'all, hit that subscribe button, or we're going to send Smiley to your house because he's back in the building.
Or Jasper.
Or we gonna send,
he's on deck back here.
Yeah, we going to make it do what it do.
And come see us on our social media. We're on TikTok and Instagram.
Exactly. And then finally, guys, check out some of our additional videos. We're going to be watching some other shows. We recently did a review of Wicked. We got some other things, movies and stuff that we're going to be putting out. So don't only just rock with our From content, rock with us on all of our content and become a crow and sit on the wall with us.
Yes.
So this episode begins with Ellis. He's walking in to the sheriff's office, and he tells Boyd and them that he thinks that Elgin knows where Fatima is. And I was like, finally, because at first I thought that all those hints that Elgin was dropping, he was just
over his head.
Yeah, because really, Ellis, in a lot of ways, stuff just goes over his head, and he just, the only time you really see him is when he just kind of loses control. So I was glad that he actually knew what the heck was going on.
Right. So it transitions to Fatima. She's inside the cellar. Her stomach has grown exponentially. It is big. She's about to pop.
Yeah.
She pulls back her shirt, and something is visibly moving inside of her. It looks alien. It was crazy. And she is just like she's about to have this baby.
Yeah, like it's really going down, and the show really took us for a twist and a turn when they showed us that ultrasound wasn't anything in there, and there's something in there. And it transitions to Ellis, and he explains how he feels, why he knows Elgin knows where she is. And this is when Boyd says, "Look, you guys go to the colony house, make sure that he cannot leave. I'm gonna go run and do something." And they're both like, "Where are you going, bro?" He's like, I got it under control.
We get to Ethan and Jim, and they're walking when Victor comes outside and says in a coherent and incomplete sentences, like he always does, that
your mother fell down.
Your mother fell down.
And it was like,
okay,
what's the rest of the story? You know what I'm saying?
Tell us what else is happening. Victor, he tells Ethan that he saw the boy or the teenager in white and says that he wasn't helpful. Surprise, surprise. Now you know how it feels, Victor. He's just not helpful at all.
So this is when we see Julie. She comes outside and she offers to take Ethan to the diner so that their parents can relax and have a conversation. This is when we see Tabitha having a conversation with Jim. And she's explaining that not only do I think I'm having visions, I think that these are actually past experiences that I experienced. She also shares that she feels like when she hugged Victor and she had those images of Miranda, that Miranda was actually trying to tell her something or give her a bit of information.
It's like she was having like a deja vu, that feeling of like,
And
wait,
that's
I've
the
been here before.
Yeah, that's the perfect explanation for it, because it really is actually deja vu. So then it transitions back to Jade, and he's sitting in there working hard like he normally does, and Jim comes in. And initially, Jade thinks that Jim is coming in to have an argument because really their last couple of interactions have been very argumentative.
And he's not having it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm trying to figure
He's
this
like, the
mystery
bar is
out."
closed.
Yeah, the bar is closed.
And this is when he says, Jim says to him, hey man, I'm not here to argue. I'm concerned about my family. I'm concerned about my children. I'm concerned about my wife. I'm just trying to get the appropriate information. And I know that you are one of the keys or one of the individuals in this town who has good information and can be of some support.
So again, like we said before, he's like on this redemption journey, trying to get help from this person that he cussed out an episode before, and he's trying to make amends and trying to do better, right?
Yeah. And that was one of the reasons that led us to believe something was going to happen to him, because just like you said, he has been on this redemptive arc the last 2 episodes or so.
Oh, God.
So it transitions to Boyd.
Yep, he speaks to Sarah. She's sitting in the church praying to who God knows what, and he asks her to talk to Elgin because he's experiencing some of the same things that she was. We're hearing voices regarding, remember, trying to accidentally killing her brother and then trying to kill Ethan, right?
Yeah, the voice is telling her to do something,
right.
and then not only telling her to do something, but basically bargaining that if you do this, then I'll do this for you. And
so they're walking up to Colony House. Donna barges outside the door as they pull up, and she's like, "What the hell is going on here, Boyd?"
And they're like, why are Kenny and Ellis talking about that Elgin can't leave the house? She's just, kind of perplexed. And I couldn't help but to think about how these folks keep calling Sarah and asking her to do stuff and putting her in goddamn precarious situations. Victor did it to her a couple of episodes. Victor did it to her about 3 or 4 times. Initially, he did it to her when he said, I need you to come in the tent. And she's like, well, why do you have me down here? Because he's like, I got to tell a scary ass story. And I know it won't scare you because you the scariest motherfucker.
You the scariest bitch in town.
Then,
and we forget that she is until later on in the episode. You forget, Sarah's about that life. She's very calm and collected, but she got to shank a bitch. She going to shank a bitch.
Yeah, like she is no joke, right? And then he also called her to help her with Victor called on her to help with Jasper, and now here we got Boyd who's also calling her in here and dragging her to another precarious situation, which could potentially actually be dangerous for her.
And you know what I thought about? I thought about why wouldn't Kenny and Ellis just let him go out and they can just follow him? Why couldn't they just follow him?
Sneak and follow him?
And we could have avoided all of this. Well, we'll talk about it later. But, I thought it would have been simple if they would just be, sneakily follow where he's going. Not even listening to Boyd.
I like that. That's actually a really good idea now that you said it. But, Elgin is a sneaky motherfucker. When he was going into that thing, he was definitely always looking around behind him and stuff.
Well, nobody really pays him any attention.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that would have been the case. I don't know.
So it transitions back to Jim, Tabitha, and Jade. They're back in the house because Jade is, I guess, obviously decided, I'm going to come on over there. And Tabitha begins to explain that she feels like Miranda was trying to tell her something. And she's going through these lists of experiences. And Jade counters saying Tabitha's experience differs from his own visions of the soldiers and other phenomena, because he's saying, look, you're not just having visions, you're actually feeling like you were in those locations when those events were happening. Jade starts to get into a Jade conversation talking about thermodynamics, suggesting that maybe energy lingers because it can't be destroyed.
That energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only change from one form to another. And our thoughts, our memories, our souls, if you believe in that sort of thing, they're made of energy. And that energy, maybe here, that energy, I don't know, maybe it lingers.
Lingers because it can't be destroyed and only repurposed, and kind of hinting at that reincarnation type theme that we get more of later in the episode.
And you know, when he said that, it made me think like, I thought Jim saw the Civil War soldiers too, didn't he?
No, I don't think Jim saw it. He when Jade saw it, he was on the ground acting crazy, and Jim kind of walked over to him, and he was kind of pissed off that he had left him in the
Okay, I remember. When
they were doing, weren't they like messing with the bottle tree or something like that?
Right.
Yeah, so it transitions back to the colony house. Elgin is trying to leave, and this dude is just crazy to me how he thinks that he could just go back and forth and nobody's going to observe him, especially all this going on. Boyd takes his bag, says, look, we need to have a conversation. They go upstairs, and Boyd notices that he has enough supplies for several days at a time, which is weird.
He didn't even fight about it. He wasn't like, nah, I got somewhere to be. Like, if this was Randall, if Elgin was Randall, he wouldn't have acquiesced so easily.
Not at all. And then even the acquiescing when things happen between him and Boyd a little bit later that we're going to talk about, that just would have not have happened.
It was like he wanted somebody to stop him. That's what it felt like to me. It's like, oh, to me, he looked a little relieved too. Like he wanted somebody to be like, okay, what is going on? And be okay with, she's okay, but I can't tell you where she is. Just trust me. I know she's okay. She will be okay. And we're going to get out of here because of it. But trust me, she's not in danger. Like he wanted to tell somebody that and everything to be okay. Because remember, Elgin has like this hero complex, right? He thinks he's a biblical character that's doing the right thing. He thinks he's seeing angels saying, fear not. You know, like his psyche is telling him that I think like he knows what he's kind of doing is kind of weird, wrong, and bad, but he's like dropping these breadcrumbs like, hey, things are gonna be good, you know, by telling Elgin, you know, I think she's in a good place. I think she's sick. You know, all these things. He wanted somebody to be in the know. Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, like, in what world did he think that people would take that and say, you know what, yeah, thanks for kidnapping her, and we're going to trust you on that. Like, that was absolutely crazy. So now Ellis loses his temper and he begins to attack Elgin. Boyd grabs him and tells everyone to step outside the room. And they're having a conversation. And Sarah says, look, there is no reasoning with this guy. He will not volunteer the information. And Sarah is in the best position to lay that on the line because she was one of those people. She knows that when I was in that mind frame, there was nothing that you can negotiate and talk to me about because her mind was freaking made up. And that was what it's going to be. So she understands that. Boyd asks Donna where are the tools, and she says they are in the shed because Boyd is about to go do some crazy stuff.
He's about to go Abu Ghraib on Elgin, and that is not. I just was like, who is this guy turning into? Like, do you really think torture? You're from a military background. You know that torture doesn't work. Well, in this case, it did, but it just I don't think that, like, again, this place has turned him into something that is completely unrecognizable, and morally he knows that he is in the wrong, but he's like, what can I do? What has always seemed logical to me in this season, he's just become completely, and I don't know, like, it's just,
but once again, it's an indication to me, and even what happened later on in this episode, which we're going to get to it, season 4, there's probably going to be multiple different packs going on because when people find out,
he has made these people complicit in what is happening here. Because even Kenny was like, you don't want to do this, and he gave up so easily, just like, all right, You
Yeah.
have made Donna, Ellis, Kenny, Sarah all complicit in this torture confession that you got. You got everybody out of the house. You pretty much made Sarah the bad guy again. You know, the bad guy again. Now, Acosta, she knows what's going on. This is all bad. This is all bad. And I have a feeling that this is what we're going to be dealing with most in season 4 for like half the season.
And I like what you said, because when you name a person like Kenny, when you name Boyd, when you name Donna, these are the pillars in the town. These are the people that people look to as the moral compass in the town. When somebody does something wrong, it's Boyd's job to put them in the box. You know, when Donna, she keeps the house managed. Kenny is his deputy. Like you said, all of the people that are supposed to have a moral compass have been freaking compromised. And the one person who looks like they have a moral compass is potentially one of the most dangerous people, which is Officer Acosta. Because now she looks like the reasonable one, and she's not about to hide what happened. Everybody else, the Kennys, the Donnas, the Boyds, I can see them even trying to cover this whole shit up and hiding everything, hiding Smiley, hiding what they did to Elgin, all of that stuff. Officer Costa ain't going for that shit, and it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in season 4 when Officer Costa says, "Look, I'm not going for that bullshit." So it transitions to Victor and Henry. Victor is sitting down, and Henry kind of comes over, and he's trying to find a way to have like a simple conversation with him. So he goes with what he knows, and he asks about that damn Jasper doll. And Victor says, "Look, Jasper doesn't talk, and I want to show you and take you somewhere, but you're gonna be mad at me. You're gonna be pissed off." And they go ahead and they leave. And this is when we see Victor take him to where he has built a makeshift burial for his mother and his sister. And Victor is thinking that Henry is going to blame him because he's feeling a lot of the blame in the fact that he told his mom about the tree and saving the children, and that caused her to have to leave him and his sister, and eventually led to his mother dying. But what was interesting, and they keep lingering this on, is Eloise, his sister. Even though he's claiming that he maybe buried her there, he's not 100% sure, because he said that her body was so mangled and messed up, he doesn't know whose body it is.
It had to have been hers, though.
I don't think so. I think...
Who else would it have been?
I don't know if it was a body from the town. Like it could have, because the massacre occurred. Maybe it was just another body from the town, and he thought it was her body. But I think that she's still alive. I don't know where she is, because that was one thing that they didn't provide closure on. A lot of the stuff about what happened with the murder in the town at that moment with Victor and Christopher and that, they basically gave us all the answers about that night. You know, we know that his mom died, how she died, why she died, you know, because she tried to get to the tree. We know how she learned about the tree. We learned that Miranda and her may be the same person, but we don't have a concrete answer about Eloise. And I think she's still running around. So it transitions to Boyd, and he is in the shed, and he's gathering tools so he can torture Elgin. And of course, Father Khatri comes, and he's challenging Boyd. But leave a comment below. Do you guys think that Father Khatri is a good person in his entity form? Because he's challenging Boyd, and he's pointing out his, hypocrisy, saying, look, you let Sarah come back she killed somebody. You didn't do that to her. You didn't think about torturing her and getting answers. You let her live. Fatima, she killed someone. You hid her, and you were trying to hide her and take care of her. And now you got this guy, Elgin, who hasn't even killed anyone. He's kidnapped her, which is still not a good thing, but you're willing to go and commit, torture. And he's challenging him on this, but this is the thing. He says, you're going to risk losing your soul and letting this place win. And I think that this was an important point. It goes back to what we're sitting here talking about now, which is the rift is going to be created, because when Boyd does this, you can't walk this shit back, bro.
You said that you weren't going to let this place break you. If you do this place is one.
You can't walk this back what you're about to do to this kid.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So it transitions to Fatima, and we see her. She's in that cellar, and she's screaming in frustration. She grabs a piece of glass and kind of moves it toward her stomach, but the kimono lady appears. It transitions to Jim, Tabitha, and Jade, and they head over to Victor's trailer, where Tabitha says she last saw the Akui children. Jim starts to realize, he has this look on his face because Tabitha and Jade are talking about the Akui children, and they both have seen the children, and Jim has not seen the children. And that's the first time we see Jim starting to question what's going on here. Why is it that they seem to have a special connection and he doesn't? And Jay talks about how he saw those children on their sacrifice table and things like that. And Jim is kind of sitting there looking like the oddball out. And we had kind of predicted this a long time ago, Candace, that it seemed like they had some type of relationship going on, and that there was some type of connection there, but we could never put our finger on it. And we discovered later on in this episode what that connection was. It transitions to Randall. He's working out, and it looks like he's trying to clear his head, and he can hear those damn cicadas, and he starts to have a mental breakdown.
Yeah, it was really sad to watch. And so we transition to Muriel and Christy. Muriel tends to Christy's leg and confesses she hasn't been doing well. Randall barges in to grab a defibrillator, intending it to use it on his brain to stop the cicada voices. And Muriel stops him just in time.
Yeah.
This was really sad to watch. Like, this man try to lobotomize himself. Like, how he's just going crazy with the sound. It's just making him... And it almost makes me think, did Randall have some type of, mental illness before he got here? Like, is this a manifestation of something else that's going on with him in his brain?
And the thing is, he's one of the few people in the town that doesn't have anyone. Yeah. When you think about it, Boyd has his son and Fatima now. Donna has the whole damn colony house essentially. Kenny just kind of lost his people, but now he's part of colony house, and he interacts and engages with people. Every time we see Randall, though, the only time we saw him maybe have a connection and interact with people was when he went on that ride with Julie. But this man is alone. He doesn't have anybody to talk to, comfort him, or anything like that. So then it transitions back to the colony house, and we see Boyd. He's carrying those tools upstairs. He walks past everybody downstairs, and they're like, man, what are you about to do here? And he's like, I have to do what I have to do. He walks upstairs, and Kenny is the last line of defense to reason to him. He's the last person. And Kenny is like, listen, man, this guy's a good kid. Do you really want to do this? And Boyd basically says, look, I got to do what I got to do. And he tells Kenny to go downstairs, completely implicating him in all of this stuff. Boyd goes inside. He starts slamming stuff down aggressively. In the room with Elgin to intimidate him. This is the thing that kind of tripped me out a little bit. You can see the size difference between Elgin and Boyd. Why would Elgin sit there and let Boyd tie him up? Elgin is big enough to whoop Boyd's ass independently. I guess some might say, well, that's not Elgin's characteristic, but I'll be damned if I'm about to let somebody tie me up, especially when I see he's brought this weird shit up in here and looks like he's going to try to hurt me.
Elgin also has a martyr complex, I think. So he's not going to fight. He feels that this is his destiny. This is his part of his hero's journey to be sacrificed for the greater good. And he is just gonna let Boyd tie him up. And that's just what it is. He knows that, hiding this woman and not telling them where she is gonna have some consequences. He's gotta know that.
That's a really good point, Candace, because he feels like he's making the necessary sacrifice. And you might be right about that. So this is when we see that camera flash and the picture comes out, and that's Elgin says that's how she talks to me, that's how she communicates with me. It transitions back to Victor and Henry, and they're kind of having additional conversation about the grave sites and different things like that. Then we get a transition back to Jim, Tabitha, and Jade. This is when they theorize that the numbers that they thought, or that the things on the paper that were numbers that they thought were numbers, may actually be music notes. And this is kind of interesting to me. Jim is the one that comes up with this, and you know, Jade is a super intelligent guy. Why wouldn't Jade have figured that out on his own? I guess sometimes like you're looking at something one way, but you know, here you have Jim. He's like, oh, what if it's music notes? My mom used to be.
I mean, he went all the way to thinking that this was the Fibonacci sequence. So Jade sometimes, sometimes smart people can't see the obvious in front of them. And you just need other people around whose heads are not all the ways up in, I don't know, aerodynamic theorems and stuff. So like, I mean, for Jim to see that, it was obvious to him, like, this is what it is. Once he got into, their little bubble of like the mystery bubble or whatever of what these numbers meant, he was like, oh, what about music? Like, it was like just so obvious to him.
Yeah. And it may be because like you said, sometimes somebody can come in and they have a different perspective and they can see the solution immediately, and maybe that was one of those situations. So it transitions to Fatima. She picks up that piece of large glass from throwing that jar of blood, and she starts to cut her stomach, and the kimono lady stops her. I thought it was interesting that the kimono lady put the blade toward Fatima's neck.
Yeah. I was like, oh, is she about to what is happening?
Yeah, I thought that she was about to kill her and take the baby or whatever. And she says, look, you're about to give birth. And then you could tell her water breaks or whatever the case may be. And what's interesting, as they're starting to go through this process of having a child, that cellar door that Fatima has spent all that time digging up opens up on its own. She spent all that energy trying to open that shit, and then all of a sudden it just opens so easily and smoothly at that particular moment. It transitions back to Boyd and Elgin. Boyd starts torturing Elgin and demanding answers, right? And this is the crazy thing. He smashes his hand, and he doesn't give the information. He's not giving the information. And this is when we see Officer Acosta run in. And this was a big moment, because when she runs in, she can hear that something's going on upstairs. This is when we see her go upstairs, and this is when we actually start to see the byproduct of Boyd's work. Boyd tells everybody, get the fuck out. Everybody gets out. Officer Acosta is still trying to stand up for him. They're downstairs having a conversation. Sarah realizes that I cannot let Boyd take this out on his own, because I can't let Boyd completely compromise himself, because we need him for the town.
But it's too late. He's already done that.
And my thing is, at that point, you're right. They might as well let Boyd finish the shit, because you already started it, bro. You was in there smashing his hands and stuff, and then we see Sarah. She sneaks upstairs. And we hear Elgin screaming for his life up there. They all run upstairs, and Elgin looks like he's missing an eyeball, and Sarah has dug all up in his eye. And what was interesting was during that conversation, right before she was about to get Elgin, she talked about how, I'm not going to let this town take his soul. The town has already taken my soul. And when I saw that, I thought about our conversation, Candace. Do you remember when we were talking about it 5 videos ago, and we said Sarah is going to sacrifice herself?
Yeah, I just didn't think that this would be the way. The way. But yeah, it is a sacrifice. But I feel like it's a sacrifice for naught, because again, Boyd did strike the first blow, and everybody knows it. I mean, well, not everybody, but there are others who are complicit in knowing that this has happened.
Yeah.
So it's too late for her to be like, oh, I did it. I put out the eye. What is Acosta gonna do? She's not just gonna say, hey, Sarah put out his eye and made, tortured him, she's gonna also be like, yeah, Sarah is going to the box, but Boyd needs to go too.
Mhm.
It just, the sacrifice was for naught. I
Yeah.
think.
But and like you said, we thought when we made that statement that she was sacrificed to like maybe be a trap for the monster, or somebody would be about to die and she sacrifices herself. But she did make that sacrifice, and the reason why we came up with that was that we always felt that she was going to do something to redeem herself, and we were right. That's exactly what she did for Boy. She did something.
I mean, she did, because that is how we find out where Fatima is, and that way we know, okay, kind of like how we said before, these people who were there sacrificed their children to live forever. Why that they would do that, I don't know, but we find that out, and then Boyd is able to go down there and see the rebirth of Smiley, and everybody's just like, the monsters are like, yay.
Which was crazy.
We find out what the monsters are, basically. Which I was right. See, I was right. My theory was right. Next time I'm gonna wear a foil hat whenever I have a theory, and I'm just gonna be like, my foil hat is on. I know it sounds crazy, but I think this is what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we find out information. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword. She did sacrifice herself for us to find out different information that we needed to know, that we kind of already figured out, I think. But and then on the other side, I forgot what I was trying to say. I forgot my train of thought. But I think you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, that she made the sacrifice, because she felt like she needed to try to redeem herself for the things that she has done.
I don't think she needed to redeem herself. I think she felt like she couldn't be redeemed anyway. That's why she did it.
That's true. Yeah, because I'm already the bad guy. So what more can y'all do to me? I've already, you guys have already ostracized me and made me the bad guy. So what more can you do? So this is when it transitions to the root cellar. Boy, Kenny, and the others are running down to that cellar because, of course, she got that information out of Elgin. The interesting thing is, I was like, how long does it take y'all to move that damn shelf? Elgin was moving that shit by himself pretty smoothly. And you got Kenny, Boy, and Ellis, and y'all struck because I wanted them.
It was supposed to be easy for Elgin.
I wanted them to go in there while she was yanking the baby out so they could see the damn kimono lady. I wanted them to see it. But by the time
Boyd saw it, so that's kind of all that matters at this point.
That is true. He did see the, and then it makes you wonder, when Boyd saw her, had they walked in when they did earlier, would they all have been able to see the kimono lady? Because at this point, only certain people have been able to see the kimono lady. Elgin, and then Fatima.
I think the only people who are supposed to see her is supposed to see her. That's why that door, they had a hard time opening that door, moving that shelf. And Elgin had an easier time. Elgin is supposed to be able to move that shelf. They are not. That they were keeping it from them, Kenny and Ellis. That's why that door opened so easily. I mean, and Fatima couldn't open the door on the ground. It was supposed to work out that way.
Man, that's very possible. And then so they finally go in, and then they see Fatima. She is in there, and you could tell she's had a child, and she says, "Look, they took my baby." And Boy says, "Okay, I'm gonna go down there." He instructs everybody else to leave. Boy goes down there, and it's interesting as that moment is happening because we hear
Jade playing
we hear the violin going as he's going down there, and they're going back and forth because we see Boy traveling a few feet in the tunnel. Then we see the Kui children start to come out as Jade is playing the music. And as the Kui children come and get closer, Boy gets closer to where the monsters are. And then eventually we see Jade, Tabitha, and them. They see the Akui children, but Jim can't see them. Jade can see them. Tabitha can see them. And then the Akui child kneels in front of her. It's one of the girl ones, and she's like, says Akui. Then she remembers that the word Akui means to remember, which was pretty interesting. And then,
does it really mean that? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, and
and
then
in what language? Because I know we talked about Eskimos or the Inuit. I'm sorry, Inuit last time we recorded, and
mhm.
why would that like? What's the connection there for that language? But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm with you 100% on that. And so then when that happens, we see she kind of has a meltdown because she's starting to remember more about what happened. And then Boyd is getting closer and closer down there, and then Boyd
Mhm.
starts to see something weird. And what stood out to me about that scene was that the kimono lady was almost kneeling to the other monster. She was in like a subservient position, kneeling, right? Because at first I thought the kimono lady might be more important, maybe a more of an in charge entity, right? If there is a hierarchy. But she was on all her knees, bent over. She didn't even have her head up. She had her head down, as if, you know, almost like how people are when kings and queens come by. You put your head down, you don't look at them, and we see that thing moving and squiggling, and the thing gets out and it's Smiley butt naked, and we're like, wow, that's crazy. Transitions back to, uh, Jay, Jim, and Tabitha. Tabitha's run off. Jim is chasing her, like, what's going on? She's basically telling him, like, look, I think I might be goddamn Miranda.
Yes, we've been here before. Me and Jade. The reason I felt what Miranda felt is because I was Miranda. And Jade was Christopher. We've come back over and over again because we failed the first time.
The first
Yes.
time.
Jade and I were here at the beginning. We tried to save those children and set them free. Because one of them was ours.
That's why I was making these bracelets. That's why I keep coming back, because I didn't save the kids. And then she starts to insinuate that her and Jade
Had a child.
had a female child, and that they were not able to save their daughter from the sacrifice, which is why they might keep coming back here. And this is a lot for Jim to take on, because in some ways I think Jim was starting to feel like an outsider when it came to his relationship with his wife and what Jade and them had going on, because we always felt like there was some kind of a tension, I mean, but we didn't know what to put our finger on. And then we see this happen, and it's evident why that tension is there, because Jade and Tabitha were in some type of relationship before. And she walks off and says, I need a minute. Jim walks off. I just don't understand why people just keep walking off by them damn selves. But he walks off. He's looking at he has like a flashback of a time where him and his wife were driving. And then he's standing outside of the camper that flipped over. And he hears Julie come running and screaming. But that's a different looking Julie.
Yeah, I thought I was the only one who thought that. Yeah, she looks completely different.
Different clothes. Her hair looked a little bit darker. Her hair was cut
She
shorter.
looked a little bit older too.
Yeah, you could tell they put some makeup or something. They wanted her to look different, and
Less youthful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they wanted her to look different. And it's very possible that she is a Julie from a different time period or whatever, and she was doing exactly what Ethan told her that she shouldn't be doing, which was
Story
hopping, going back in time, trying to fix things, trying to change things or whatever. And she says, is this where it happens? And she's referring to, she could be referring to a couple of things, but a lot of people think she's referring to where her father gets killed. She tells her father, we got to get out of here. And guess who the fuck appears?
The man in yellow.
The man in yellow pulls up, and he's like, man, he just the revelations, is to me, when he walks up, I don't know why Jim didn't run, because in my opinion, he looked like he was a monster or something like that. His eyes looked darker. In my opinion, he was kind of like Blade or something, like the movie Blade, how he's a vampire, he could walk around in the daytime. I think this guy is a monster, but has that ability to move around in the daytime. And Jim tries to attack him, and the dude has like superhuman strength, grabs the stick that Jay was trying to hit him with, slams Jade against the camper, and when he slams him against the camper, he has him hemmed up, and his daughter tries to intervene. He throws her to the ground, and then he just rips out Jay's whole throat, and which was absolutely crazy. And right before he does it, he says, "Your wife shouldn't have been digging that hole." So it lets us know that there is something out there that is watching them.
And you know what? It also made me think like the people who died in this town, maybe they are not supposed to be there.
Mm.
Like they don't, if you notice, like everybody who's there seems to have a connection with this place from like a past life.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody who's died doesn't seem to have had that.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not, I mean, they're inconsequential at this point. Just like when the monsters had a chance to kill Boyd several times. They had a chance to kill Randall, but they just maimed him. The people who are dead in this town are not supposed to be there.
Nah, I'm with you 100%. And I'm trying to find something a comment that somebody put on our page. Give me 1 second. I'm about to find it. Is it here under settings? It should be desktop. I don't know how that came up. But someone had an amazing comment, and I'm gonna pull this up. Let's see, gallery. And I saw this. Let's see where. Let's go to the front. It was kind of long. Here we go. And I'm gonna put this in a video. You got ChatGPT on your thing, Candace? Super interesting. They said, check this out. And I saw this because I was gonna do some more research. They said, if you look at the word Maboose during the episode, it is written on several medical supplies and medical equipment via the ultrasound machine, defibrillator, and the ambulance electronics. And we saw that. If you do a quick search, Maboose, Mabuse.
On ChatGPT?
Yeah, do a quick search. He said it brings you to a fictional novel called Dr. Mabuse. The Cliff Notes version of the story says that the doc was demonic. He possessed people to carry out his nefarious plans.
Who is Dr. Mabuse?
It's the name of it's in a book. So just look up Mabuse, and it says that he would transmute energies and take control over electronic items, things like what we've seen in the show, the phones, the radios, the ultrasound machine, and different things like that.
Symbols of social decay.
But Dr. Mabuse will always be reborn. The man in the yellow is Dr. Mabuse in Fromville. And I agree with that. And that was something that we were going to talk about. And what I would just say, what is Mabuse, Dr. Mabuse, and what are some of his main characteristics? But I think that that's what we are seeing with this man in the yellow. It also makes me wonder, because he said that basically they were getting too much information and they were doing too much. And that's what has led to all of this. It makes me wonder what type of rules are going on in the town, and are the monsters capable to come out in the daytime, or they just don't do it? And what rules are being broken? What rules did they break? Was it the music? Was it talking to the Kui children? What rules?
But they don't know any rules. I mean, there aren't any rules. I mean, how are these people supposed to know what these rules are? I'm pretty sure if they knew what the rules are, they would follow them so nobody would get hurt.
But it seemed like you were saying, like we had been saying, that when they just were content with what was happening, they kind of had easy lives. And then even with this episode, we see that Boy might have been the catalyst that caused all this shit to happen, because all the bad stuff didn't start happening until he killed Smiley. Well, actually, I mean, there was some bad things happening because he all of that stuff happened with the ballerina and all of that. And
did the kimono lady come to Elgin before they killed Smiley or after?
The kimono lady started appearing. Did she start appearing in season 2? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
she did.
Yeah, but
Remember, she tried to drown Elgin, but was
Mhm.
that before or after Smiley died?
yeah, I mean it's yeah, this was a good ending, right? And leave a comment below. What was your favorite part about this episode? What was your favorite part about this season? You know, it's over now. We gotta wait up to a year and a half to year 2026 to get season 4. And I'm wondering how many seasons do they anticipate this show going? Um, you know, some people said 5. How many would you like to see it go? But I definitely would say this. They ended this episode on a bang. And like I said, last night I was so inspired by the episode. I literally got on here and just started going live. No script, no nothing. I just got on here last night and just had to talk about it. But nevertheless, y'all, we want to thank you guys for rocking with us and checking us out as we've been enjoying the show. We want you to keep checking us out because we're going to start doing some other shows. Earth Abides. Um, what are some of the other shows you're doing? You said you wanted to start doing?
I would like to do
Doom?
Prophecy.
Doing Prophecy. So rock with us, and then we're going to continue doing the movies and things like that as well. But guys, thank y'all so much. And as always, our watch has ended.